Well, with the pandemic, there are a lot of people thinking about selling their business, and some boomers are retiring, frankly, and their kids don't want their business. So if you're thinking about selling your business, you've got to watch this next Jeff Crilley Show. We'll be talking to a leading expert. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, if you remember the early days of the pandemic, like everything stopped. Nothing was happening. People weren't buying or selling businesses. And now as the vaccine is starting to roll across the country, we're starting to see a new normal, and that includes buying and selling businesses. So to talk about that, Talon Kuhns, he's the CEO and founder of ATK Ventures. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. Yeah, your story is awesome. I love that.
I appreciate it. Well, thanks for coming in. So let's talk about people who want to sell their business. What's their motivation?
You know, there's a lot of different motivations. In my industry, motivation is extremely important to a buyer. And so one of the most important ones is someone that's looking to retire. But we've sold businesses with owners that are in their 30s. So it can just range from health issues to another vision. They want to go do something else, to retiring. I mean, there's a myriad of different reasons, but buyers really seem to like when someone's had a successful business for years and they're ready to retire.
Do you find you're a nice guy, so it seems like you're probably part expert, part therapist, because I mean it's their baby. They've been growing this thing for sometimes a generation or two.
It's funny you say that. A business there's a lot of emotion. It's like a baby, right? And so that's what's so important when an owner is looking to sell, is to have an intermediary, because we're kind of the buffer in between the buyer and seller. We can take a lot of the emotion out of that and really make sure our clients, get the best structure, the best price, and are protected. And so, it's a lot of emotion.
And you want to make sure that the next person to run the company is going to at least share your values.
Most definitely. And I'd say 90+% of the time our sellers, we're about 90% sell side M&A advisory firm, and about 90% of our clients are really, maybe higher than that, really concerned with the new owner, that they're going to take care of their people, continue the legacy, etc. So when we meet with the client, we really align with them and find out what their goals are, and really filter out buyers to try to find a perfect fit.
Outstanding. There's an interesting story on how you started your company. We're going to put up a page of your website that it talks about an almond tree. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of a little difficult to explain, but I had a pretty strong sales history, consultative sales history. I was recruited into another M&A firm, became the top producer there, and a few years into it, I realized that only about 20% of the businesses are ready to go to market. And so with the other firm, which was a great firm, we would just pass those on in pursuit of the 20%. And so I remember thinking early on, it would be great to have a way to help these businesses prepare. There's all different things that they may need to do. Maybe simple, it may take 2 or 3 years or 6 months. But so I had a different vision a few years back, and my wife and I happened to be at a church service, and the speaker was reading Jeremiah, and she kind of went off track and said that God was speaking to her, and that it was for someone in this service, in that service, and that God was giving you a vision, and he was going to see it through. that it would come to pass. And so my wife Lisa and I looked at each other, and we kind of knew, because we'd been talking about this, and had a great relationship with the other firm, but we knew it was just a confirmation. So it's kind of a vision. A business is it starts with a vision, right? And so our thoughts are seeds. They're spiritual seeds. And so when someone has a vision, especially if it's given by God, and it's planted firmly in their mind and they cultivate it, that vision will manifest. It'll come to pass, kind of like a tree, deep roots and grow. And so
I love it. That's wonderful. We're going to show another page of the website, because you've worked with some prominent companies to help them move on to the next generation. I notice there's a theme here, heating and air.
There is, and that's completely by, I won't say accident, but we don't specialize. We're a Christian firm, but we're agnostic as far as businesses that we help. We'll help any business, any size. But I sold a business about 3 or 4 years ago. It was an HVAC business, and I don't know if word got out, but we've sold quite a few of those. So it is, I guess, a niche or a specialty that we do.
And are those typically family companies or not so much?
Typically they are, yeah. In fact, on our side, we work with about $100 million in revenue and down, about $1 million to $100 million. And so everyone that I've worked with are, they're typically family businesses.
Let's talk about the transfer of wealth and, the millennials and the Gen Zs. Often they're like, Mom, Dad, love you, don't want your business.
Very often, legacy businesses, the parents or the owner a lot of times will just really have it decided in their mind that the kids are going to take it over. And you're right, a lot of times they're not interested in that. They have another vision, another desire, or they've just been around it their whole life and it's just not their thing. So it's actually highly unusual that legacy businesses continue more than a generation or two.
Let's talk about, I'm going to call it a distressed sale, because, as the country locks down different parts of the community, you've got a lot of businesses struggling. How often do you come across a business owner who says, I don't want to sell, but I'm being forced to sell?
That's a good question. Typically, that's not the case with us. We are typically meeting with business owners that want to sell. So what usually happens is kind of the opposite. They're really motivated, but the business isn't ready. So, but I have come across that, and I do speak with owners that don't want to sell, but they're, they feel like they need to. And so that's, we're happy to help them. As long as the business is ready to go to market and optimized, we can engage with them and sell it now. Or we can help prepare the business in 6 months or a year or two.
And if somebody's thinking about selling, they should probably engage you earlier rather than later.
Earlier rather than later, because that, it's so funny that that's just not on the top of a business owner's mind usually, right? So they are focused on running their business, and they just, so it's so important to have an exit plan in place. One, it's going to make your company more efficient. It'll make it more profitable. A lot of times that'll allow the owner to actually even step away, give some of the hats away, step away and become more absentee, which actually helps the value. When it's an owner-operator, I've sold a lot of those, but it's definitely more attractive when the owner is not working 50, 60 hours a week.
Right, and often I'm sure you run across people who have been running the business one way to avoid paying too much taxes, and then when it comes time to sell, it's like, you're not making any money.
No, I've never seen that.
So you come in a little early and say, hey, if you're going to sell in 2 or 3 years, we need to make some changes.
And so to your point, it's definitely better to meet earlier rather than later. We usually say 5 years out, because that gives us plenty of time without it being a major headache and difficult to right the ship, optimize it. But almost all business owners are trying to minimize taxes. Well, that's two ends of the spectrum, right? When you go to sell the business, you want to showcase the profitability. And so we have many trusted advisors that we can help with all of that.
Okay, we're almost out of time. So when is it time, how do you know when it's time to bring in a pro like yourself? I mean, a lot of people are do-it-yourselfers, but if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you could leave a lot of money on the table.
So that's a good question. So if you're seeing this, or it's at the first time that you hear something about, have you ever thought of selling your business? Do you have any idea what the business is worth? And that's when you want to meet with a professional, because we can really just sit down with you, listen to your story, look objectively at the business, and figure out, okay, yeah, this is ready to go, or we've got a couple areas here that we really need to work on.
Outstanding. Well, this has been a great show. We'll have to have you back again soon. We're going to put the website up to end the segment. It's atk-ventures.com. Talon Kuhns, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. And real quick, I just wanted to say that, just hearing about your story this morning, I remember seeing you.
Do you?
And it's awesome that you stepped out and have done this, and it's awesome to see your success.
Thank you. And I get to work with my kids. It's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.